My name is Heather Cox Richardson. I'm a professor of history here at Boston College. Last spring, the Making History Public course at Boston College put together a public exhibit of how comic books reflected American history, primarily in the 1970s, but also in the 1960s and all the way up to 9/11. The idea of the Making History Public course came about when our new chair, Robin Fleming, decided that we should get students directly into the archives. I discovered, in fact, we have one of the largest collections of comic books in America here at Boston College. It's the Edward J. Cain collection, and it has over 11,000 comic books, and there a course was born. I wanted the students not only to get experience in the books, but also to get a skill set out of that, to see what it was like to take a huge body of material and digest it down to something that a certain audience would appreciate, would be able to understand. So designing the course was an exercise in letting students free into material that had never been handled before, and to come up with their own themes and their own way of presenting it to an audience. And after a great deal of debate, they ended up with the concept of turning their very long papers, they actually wrote a series of papers, to take those and digest them back down to a comic book panel. So each panel in the exhibit is a comic book page. It's really very, very clever. And one of the things that the students uncovered in their research while they were putting together these panels is the demographic makeup not only of the audiences for comic books, but also of the people who wrote them and illustrated them. And interestingly enough, the main illustrators and writers for Marvel in the period that they were looking at, primarily in the 1970s, were middle-aged to older middle-aged white men who were trying to ride the modern-day trends at the same time that it was pretty clear they didn't like the modern day trends. So you have this funny thing where you have Batgirl, or Valkyrie was another one who shows up briefly, who are actually appear on the surface to be strong women, and yet at the end of the day, they end up going home and settling with their men, or ending up tied up and unable to do anything, who end up not actually challenging gender roles. Another panel looked at Watergate and how Captain America reacted to Watergate. I really did not expect to see politics in the comics, but Captain America briefly refuses to be Captain America any longer because he recognizes that the president is corrupt. There's a panel where his shoulders are slouched, he is dejected, he walks off out of the comic book, and Captain America is no more. Later on, he comes back and decides that he can still be Captain America because Captain America doesn't represent the president or the government. Captain America represents everybody. What's fun about the Making History Public exhibit is that it brings front and center what historians really do. And that is to get into primary sources, into sources that people have either never looked at or have never looked at with a new set of eyes, to get deeply into those, to see what they say on the top level, to research behind that what scholars have said about the period at hand or the event at hand, and then to bring very bright minds to that topic and turn it into a thesis, an argument that is accessible to an audience. At a very basic level, that's what we do. That's all we do. Now you can dress it up in theory, and you can dress it up in foreign languages, and you can dress it up into all kinds of complicated language. But at the end of the day, historians study society, and they tell you what happened. And they make it accessible for people who don't want to spend all their time in the sources to understand what happened. I think all the students who came out of the class got the history for sure. But I think what they really got was how much work it is to take that history and then make it accessible.